realize I am the only thing standing between you and snacks. So I will hang in with me, and we're going to try to get this going. I also have a firsthand report from a drag queen show, so you want to hear that. As Ann said, my job this afternoon is to connect all the dots between all these alphabet letter things like SEL, social emotional learning, CRT, critical race theory, CSE, comprehensive sexuality education, and DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's even a new one now called the Abolitionist Teaching Network, or ATN. It was created just a couple of years ago right down the road from me by a very radical but charismatic professor of education at the University of Georgia. It seems as if we live in this perpetual state of whack-a-mole, trying to keep up with all of these things that suddenly come up. But there is an easy way to remember all of it. Just remember that everything, all of these, are based on the same destructive premise: to overthrow all that we hold dear in our society. The foundation for these efforts is Marxism, and it's been bubbling beneath the surface in our country longer than we probably realize. As we know, Karl Marx was a German economist and philosopher who lived from 1818 to 1883. He viewed the entirety of the world as a conflict between the ruling economic class, the bourgeoisie, and the common, the working class, or the proletariat. Marx was also a hate-filled man. He especially hated God. He raged against God. He even wrote poems against God. He viewed God, Christianity, capitalism, Western culture in general as extraordinary evils that oppressed the common people and had to be decapitated. Our modern woke movements substitute race and gender for Marxist emphasis on the economic area. The goal of every one of these efforts is to create chaos, destroy the family, and overturn the society. So you sexualize children, starting when they're very young. You view people only by the color of their skin. You keep everybody angry all the time. Take over our institutions, especially education, but of course media, Hollywood, sports, professional sports, even the church. The game plan is to start with the children and create Marxists and socialists forever. You're probably wondering, how in the world did we let all this happen under our noses? Well, one way has been that the left hijacks the language and makes terrible things sound benign and even wonderful. Manipulating words and phrases helps disguise what is really going on. For example, educate the whole child in social emotional learning. Create a just society with critical race theory. These events are kids and family friendly with drag queen story hours. And now, of course, we have gender affirming care, which actually means mutilating, surgery, and chemical castration for children who want to be another sex. When I look back over my university career, I almost feel like an accomplice because I didn't know the dark agendas behind the flowery language. I worked in college student affairs for almost 40 years. Student affairs encompasses all of the outside the classroom things: the residence halls, the student organization, student government, leadership training, fraternities and sororities, multicultural services and programs, LGBT resource center. At one time or another, I supervised all of this. This profession that I loved is made up of people who work for college students 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it has lurched to the left. In fact, just a few days ago, I received an email from a National Student Affairs Association announcing an upcoming webinar. The title of the webinar is Critical Approaches to Deconstructing Whiteness on Campus. Everything you read about universities is true, much to my chagrin. Alumni magazines tout their diversity initiatives and awards over anything else. We've seen social justice slogans on college football sidelines during the games. University health promotion departments actually sponsor condom fashion shows, which I can tell you more about later, maybe in a dark room. So sex is trivialized, starting in elementary school. Gender fluidity is an obsession. SEL and CRT teach students what to think, not how to think, and the what is a promised commitment on the part of the student to end the oppressiveness of white, straight, faith-based beliefs. All the while, children's minds are messed with, parents are overwhelmed, and young people start thinking, maybe Jesus really was a socialist. If you look at our culture outside of education, last week, I decided I was going to take on the persona of an undercover Project Veritas reporter, and I attended a kids and youth night drag queen event at a very nice coffee bar in Athens, Georgia. It was part of Athens Pride Week. The place was packed. There was children everywhere. They were wearing rainbow headbands. They were wearing sparkly unicorn T-shirts. They had rainbow flags around their shoulders. Now, these are little children. Excited and children and their parents anxiously awaited story time with the drag queens. The parents helped position their little children close to the stage so that the children could see the drag queens really well. Then when the band came out later, everyone danced and waved their rainbow toys. What struck me was how normalized it was. At this particular event, there was no raunchiness, which is important when you're trying to gain trust. And a good time was had by all. The drag queen who emceed the event opened with a proclamation of how much love was in the room because we're all one big family. She told the children, you are she, he, it. Yeah, that's the problem. As I was looking, I look like a woman. But anyway, said to the children, you are so ahead of everything because you have wonderful parents who brought you here tonight. Let's all thank our parents. And the room went crazy with applause. If I had not seen the drag queens, I would have thought I was at a children's birthday party. They are good at what they do, desensitizing us all, especially young people, to ideas and values that are antithetical to Judeo-Christian beliefs and traditional Western culture. The strategies are so all-encompassing now that diversity, equity, and inclusion ideology has infiltrated medical schools. Major medical schools are now presenting in their curricula that there is no such thing as only male and female. Major medical schools have begun to hire professors not based solely on their medical expertise, but on their commitment to DEI in their classroom and in their research. If hired, these professors then, when they come up for promotion and tenure, they have to prove that they have been effective with their DEI efforts. I actually wrote an article about this in our last two Eagle Forum Focus on Education issues. I really commend it to you because this is the new frontier of radical wokeism, and it's going to affect everybody. It's also important to know that these ideologies are actively promoted in colleges of education, who are the teachers of our future teachers and school administrators. When I was a university administrator, I was also on the faculty, and one of my roles was to serve on dissertation committees. I know what is being taught, and I know what is being researched. And I can tell you it has changed mightily since I began my career in 1979. The indoctrination is everywhere, and it's assumed that everybody agrees with it. National associations, national professional associations have promoted wokeness for some time, like the National Education Association, all of that. But Michelle Malkin recently reported that speakers at an American School Counselors Association conference last summer bragged that school counselors can be, quote, master manipulators of children. The Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction has published a guide called Resources for Gender Expansive Preschoolers. These efforts to destroy the norm are absolutely intentional. So what can we do? The first thing, I think, is to admit that this is happening. Even in your hometown, people have a hard time wrapping their head around the fact that this is actually going on in their schools and with their children. I can guarantee you the children who went to that drag queen show went to school the next day and talked about what a great time they had at the drag show. Sharpen your antenna for the jargon, educating the whole child, gender-affirming care, and anything that precedes the word justice, like economic justice, climate justice, restorative justice, which means really, if you break the law, you shouldn't be punished. Action civics, which is going to be Common Core for civics if it comes through, and you might hear the dominant culture, which means white and Christian. I recommend you go to the Abolitionist Teaching Network's website. Read what they stand for. Read their Guide for Racial Justice and Abolitionist Social and Emotional Learning. It is on the website. The Biden administration actually recommended this resource to schools when they were opening after COVID. There was an outcry, though, when it was discovered, and it was taken down. But I infiltrated an abolitionist teaching network conference on Zoom, and through 2.5 tortuous days, I listened to these unbelievably extreme people, and I realized that every Marxist principle that I have mentioned is what they want to get into the schools. Ask your students if they've ever been asked in their class to check their privilege or to analyze their privilege, because the white children are told they're oppressors and brown and black children are told they're victims. Go to your State Department of Education's website and find out what they brag about. Go to your school district's website too, because my school district in Georgia is ranked #1 in the state, but they have been bragging about their SEL programs for several years. So, since Ann is standing right here, and I am very alert to clues, let me, as Kimberly said, the most important thing is to teach at home. Constantly. Be very open about your beliefs, even if you're not totally comfortable with it. Be factual. Young people are looking for truth. They realize this will give them the foundation. The last thing, remember the 12 spies whom Moses sent out to scout the land of Canaan. Two of the 12 were Joshua and Caleb. After a few weeks, 10 of the men came back to Moses and said, "Man, those Canaanites are huge. There is no way we're going to defeat them." Joshua and Caleb, on the other hand, said, "Yeah, there's some big guys there, but with God's help, we can take them." I want you to know that with God's help, we can take them. Thanks.